How's it going, class? This is Tucker Cooper, and I'm reporting to you from my observation site here off of Farmers Loop Road in Fairbanks. It's just about 6 miles away from the University of Alaska Fairbanks campus. My observations were taken from Monday, March 23rd through Friday, March 27th. My approximate time of my observations was 1800 Alaska Standard Time, and my National Weather Service data location is located in town at Fairbanks International Airport. So my first day of observations was Monday, March 23rd at 5:45 p.m. When I was outside taking my temperatures, it was 34 degrees Fahrenheit. My max of that day was 36 degrees Fahrenheit, and my minimum was 13.2 degrees Fahrenheit. The barometric pressure for that day was 1,013 millibars. Um, The wind speed was about, I'd give it a 2 on the Beaufort scale because the tips of the trees were blowing. I really couldn't determine which direction the wind was blowing because my observation site is kind of located in a clump of trees, so it's hard to determine whether the trees are blowing to the right or to the left, to the north, to the south. There was no clouds that I could see at that time, and there was no precipitation at that time. On Tuesday, March 24th, my observation was taken at 6 p.m. The observation temperature at that time was 38.1 degrees Fahrenheit. My max for that day was 42.9, so pretty warm, and my minimum was 12.3 for that day. The barometric pressure on that day was 1010 millibars, so the pressure dropped a little bit from the previous day. The wind that day was a 0 on the Beaufort scale. The tips of the trees were completely not blown at all. Again, there was no clouds in the sky that I could see from my observation site, and there was no new precipitation. On Wednesday, March 25th, I had to take my weather observations a little earlier that day, which was at 11:30 a.m. The temperature at that time was 32.5 degrees Fahrenheit. My max was 32.5 because, again, the if I had waited until 6 in the afternoon, it probably would have heated up a lot more, which is why you can see on my graph for Wednesday, the 25th, my highs are pretty much right next to or my maxes are right next to my current temperatures, and the National Weather Service definitely shoots up quite a bit more into like the 40s. So if I had taken it later on in the afternoon, I'm guessing I probably would have had the same exact more even graph for Wednesday the 25th. The barometric pressure for that day was 1003 millibars. So again, still dropping, a little bit lower pressure than the previous 2 days. The wind was another 0 on the Beaufort scale, and the clouds, I kind of could see some clouds through the trees. I wasn't sure what they really were. I kind of wrote it down as a wispy clouds in the distance, but I couldn't really tell. There was no new precipitation for that day either. All right, on Thursday, March 26th, I took my observations at 5:40 p.m. The temperature at that time was 44.3 degrees Fahrenheit. My max for that day was 48.8, so it got pretty dang hot. Heating up, definitely a lot nicer than 40 below when we had to take our other observations. My minimum temperature for that day was 20.5. The barometric pressure was 993 millibars, which continuously keeps dropping down progressively lower and lower. My wind speed was, I gave it a 1 on the Beaufort scale. The cloud coverage was none for that day or at that time, and there was no new precipitation. On Friday, my last day of observations, March 27th at 6, I took my observations at 6:40 p.m. The temperature at that time was 34.7 degrees Fahrenheit. My max for that day was 48.6, and my minimum was 28.5. The barometric pressure went up slightly from the previous day, and it was now running at around 1,000 millibars. My wind was a 0 on the Beaufort scale on Friday, and again, I could kind of tell that there was clouds in the distance through the trees, but I just wrote down some wispy clouds because they were really light and fluffy, and they were they were pretty far off. I couldn't really tell what they really were, and there was no new precipitation for that day. Here we can see my pressure plot, which I think I did a lot better job than I did last time on our week observations. Last time I think I had my observations were like 5 millibars off, so everything looked kind of wonky on the graph. And now I think it looks pretty dang good, pretty dang close to the National Weather Service. On Monday, I recorded a barometric pressure of 1,013 millibars, and the National Weather Service recorded a pressure of 1,014. So 1 millibar off. I'd say I did pretty dang good. On Tuesday, I recorded a pressure of 1,010 millibars. The National Weather Service recorded 1,009. So again, 1 millibar off. On Wednesday, I recorded 1,003 millibars. The National Weather Service recorded 1,004. Thursday, 993 millibars. National Weather Service 992. And on Friday, I got it dead on. I recorded 1,000 millibars, and the National Weather Service recorded 1,000 as well. So as you could tell, low pressure front, I'm guessing, came into Fairbanks. We went from decently high pressures with a little bit of cloud coverage to strictly low pressures, and then it started to rise again by this weekend. So here's the National Weather Service relative humidity and dew point temperatures plot. You could see at the beginning of the week on Monday, we had pretty high relative humidity, which is up here in the blue, in the 90s during the day, and at night dropped down, obviously lower at night. I am guessing that the relative humidity was so high during the day in the 90s because of the cloud coverage. I did witness a little bit of cloud coverage in the early morning to mid-afternoon that day, and progressively through the week it dropped a little bit lower, rose up again, and stayed pretty consistent in the upper 80s for the main portions of the day, and then would obviously drop down pretty low at night. My first day of observations, as I've stated, was Monday, March 23rd, 2015, and these are the National Weather Service weather maps and satellite images for that day and the rest of the week. As I said earlier, the relative humidity was kind of higher at the beginning of the week, and then progressively kind of stayed the same, but got a little less. And I believe that that was due to some cloud coverage in my area in Fairbanks. As you can see, there's pretty high pressures, all kind of located all around Alaska, the Aleutian Islands and everything. There's, you can see some snow coverage, a low pressure trough actually coming in, pushing towards, I believe, the main interior of Alaska for that day. On Tuesday, March 24th, it looked like the interior of Alaska cleared up quite a bit. You have another trough right here that's kind of pushing all the clouds out. There's high pressure fronts over Canada and the lower portion of Alaska. Again, still kind of snowy along the Aleutian Peninsula and the Aleutian coast. And there seems to be this green blob coming in off of the southern coast of Alaska, and I believe that's due to rain, so probably rained quite a bit on southeast Alaska that day. Wednesday, March 25th, Again, the rain's still coming in uh, along the southern portions of Alaska. The low pressure front is bringing this rain in, and a high pressure front off of the coastline of Russia. Thursday, which actually I recorded as my cloudiest day, you can see that there's good cloud coverage throughout the interior of Alaska. Again, rain and this low pressure front kind of pushing in off of the coastline and pushing in towards southern Alaska, southeast Alaska, and southern Alaska, Anchorage area. Sporadic snowfall up towards the northwestern slope of Alaska, and that high pressure front is still just hanging out right on the coast of Russia. My last day of observations, which was Friday, March 27th, um, from what I can tell, low pressure fronts again on the coastal regions, sporadic rainfall all throughout southern Alaska. The high pressure front just now pushing into Canada and interior Alaska, seeing a little bit of clouds, uh, and the high pressure front just still over here hanging out right next to the coast of Russia. This is the GOES image for Wednesday, March of 2015. On this day, March 25th, um, I could see that there was, I mean, when I took my observations, it was pretty clear. Um, the rain definitely was pushing in on the southern half of Alaska. From the infrared images, the visible, and the water vapor, it looked quite a bit cloudy, like I say, towards the southern areas of Alaska, kind of pushing in off the coastline, probably bringing a little bit of drizzle, a little bit of rain. And interior, we didn't witness any of that. It was a little bit clearer, and it cleared up that day from what I saw, and there was absolutely no rain on the interior.